All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Nerd Course 4 for 4, where I interview a guest from both cast and crew and ask them 4 questions and hopefully get 4 answers back. But normally we might get more or less. It just depends on the person that I have on. Today we have Josie Andrews, a director for the new short film that came out, Wannabe. It is playing at the Nashville's 53rd Film Festival. I have it on the TV this time just to have in the background. But how are you? How are you doing with this whole festival circuit for your film?
It's been wonderful, honestly. I'm just excited to kind of be getting out there, particularly Nashville, because my first professional gig when I was acting when I was little
Hmm.
was a tour that went through Nashville. So I spent my 10th birthday in Nashville, haven't been back since. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like I'm going back to Nashville for again, the arts, but kind of in a
Hmm.
different way, different place in my
Different
life.
approach, a
So
different side of the entertainment industry. Yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, so you're the director for Wannabe. Would you like to give us an insight? I mean, I would get into it, but this is a specific one where it's like the plot kind of is important to tell for the people. So if you'd like, go ahead and share a synopsis.
Absolutely. The log line kind of is a 90s girl group
Hmm.
has to decide between working with their lead singer's rapist or giving up on their dreams. So
Hmm.
it's kind of half a teen movie that reveals itself to be something much darker than it initially appears.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it is short. It goes for around 13 minutes, if I remember correctly. And it packs in like a lot of stuff, but it does it well. It's well paced, and you just by the end of it, you kind of question yourself on like a lot of things. You get a lot of introspective in it. And hopefully the questions don't get a little too personal or anything of that sort, but I try to stick to the story of the film. But I know it's like I said, it's a matters, and like you mentioned, it deals with rape and sexual assault. So it's a trivial matter that really happens on a day-to-day in today's world, sadly, and especially in the entertainment business. And I mean, we're barely getting up until recent years where people have come out and open. I know in the next month or so we're gonna get the story of like the victims for Harvey Weinstein and all that. And then it's very prominent in the film industry, and I know in the press kit we get some insight on the motivation behind why you created the film for your part. But I also wanted to ask, was it difficult for you writing the story, just like as a regular just writing process, and then just because it kind of deals with such a harsh topic and something that is very reality driven?
100% it was, especially because stylistically, I normally make teen movies. Like I make
Hmm.
comedies, I make chick flick type movies.
Got you.
And so I was like, oh, how does that fit into the box? How does who I am and my own personal story, since this is
Hmm.
based on true experience,
Hmm.
how does that fit with my style? Like that in a way they contradict each other, but I think that's why it was so hard to write and so hard kind of to nail down tone and kind of setting this in both the real world and this kind of
Yeah.
hyper reality. I had a lot of really, really amazing guidance. So this was my USC thesis film. And so
Hmm.
I had mentors and writing groups, and this went through maybe 20 or 30 drafts before it finally became what it is. And so
Gotcha.
I think it was just kind of time and um, questioning everything eventually
Yeah.
got me to where we got.
Oh, cool. I mean, yeah, 2020 and such drafts is a lot to go through, right? Especially when you
For
just have to
13 pages.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the process that you have to go through when filmmaking, right? Um and it's like you said, it's based on your story as well. For spoilers, if you haven't already watched it, or if you have, for the people that have watched it, we know the ending is kind of telling of like people that kind of have to choose, and in this case choose between like coming out and bringing and going through that whole ordeal of like bringing out the sexual assaulter, and then growing their career in the singing industry, because it is a 90s group. We also got in the kit that it was written by three people, yourself and two others. Did you also get insight from just like, aside from your story, like other people, how they kind of had to deal through it and kind of take it into account for plot points and even the ending?
Oh, so I was the sole writer, but
Okay.
I had two co-producers.
Okay.
And
Okay.
yeah, I do think that with a film, like it's so collaborative. There's so
Hmm.
much of them in this. There's so much of the DP in this. There's so much of the PD. Like there's so much of my mentors and even just my family around me who,
Hmm.
you know, this is partly my experience, partly my grandmother's experiences. Like it's as you said, it's sadly such a universal and universally recognized topic and
Hmm.
experience that I feel like there's a lot of all of us in this. And the beauty of like filmmaking and, you know, opposed to just writing a novel or writing a script is like, it's impossible. I think if you come out of it and you're like, yeah, this is me, like, this is just me, like, it's probably not all it could be because
Hmm.
the beauty of it is like sinking into it all together, I think.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that sounds like a hard, now bringing back to the whole writing process of just taking, because it is such a big topic, you know, and having so many people that have actively come out, not taking into account the people that are still kind of dealing with it internally, right? They're still kind of afraid to kind of bring out into the light the person that abused them. And for a film that kind of takes the entire topic and tries to throw it into the 13 minutes that we get, does it very well just to kind of have an understanding of how difficult it could be for people to kind of not only talk with their close friends, because we do get a scene where the two of the three people, they talk about it, and like in the press kit that we got, they also says like the friend, I believe is Bianca, was the one that kind of helped Jada understand, you know. But yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy to to hear and then see. And I just love films that kind of bring into account a lot of mental health problems like depression, anxiety, a lot of like real world problems from like the women equality, sexual assault, and just abuse in general. And yeah, I mean, your film really did it well.
Thank
I
you.
was expecting it to be longer though. I was like, oh, I'm just 13 minutes. Usually I check to kind of time it out for myself to take into account writing time. But it was, yeah, I mean, it was a quick, but it felt longer than 13 minutes, which I it's a praise to you for that. Um,
Thank you. Yeah, it's well, we have at USC, we do have time limits, like 15,
okay,
16 minutes is the most we're
really?
allowed to do. Yeah. And I feel like as I kept doing new drafts and new edits, like
Hmm.
I was kind of challenging myself, like, how tight can I make this story? How concise can I tell this story with like kind of
Hmm.
no fluff around the beats or as little as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
That's
always a
surprising to hear.
challenge.
That's surprising to
Yeah.
hear, especially having not only being challenged by such a big topic, but like the time limit is impressive. So I did a little research on yourself as well as a director in person. And aside from what you mentioned here about how like growing up you've been touring and stuff, and you've been on some Broadway shows and stuff like that, you also have to your name, this isn't your first territorial like item. You've done two other projects, at least from my understanding. Another, both of them short, one narrative and one documentary. How was it differently, specifically the documentary one, like just dealing in production from documentary shooting and then narrative shooting on this one?
So that was also kind of a crazy unexpected thing because
Mm.
as so much of my USC experience was online with COVID.
Hmm.
This film and the documentary film I actually made basically at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Um, because it was like just trying to get it all in
Yeah.
before I had to graduate. Um, it was super interesting, kind of the two different experiences. That was my first documentary experience, and in the sense that narrative is collaborative, times
Hmm.
it by a million, and that's documentary because
Hmm.
there's just so many possible routes. I think in that experience, I really learned how to lean on my team.
Yeah.
And then the other short you're referring to, Take It Off, that's also like a dark comedy, but that's more so a comedy. That's like
Okay.
almost like
Okay.
a little 5-minute sketch.
Hmm.
And that was like a first year project that I did where again, it's like it's a school project. So you learn all the ways not to make a film sometimes too. Like
Yeah, no, you
you're
definitely
like, I
do.
shouldn't do that next time.
Yeah, you definitely, those are the things that we look back onto and take into account. Like, I could have done this shot differently. I could have, oh, I just came up with this idea, and just going back, like, yeah, I'm not doing that again. And it's a crazy, chaotic process, but it's fun to just learn from it. And
Yeah, I
then,
had in a very film student sense, I had a neon sign in the scene and I didn't have a stinger long enough to get the generator out in that first like short I made.
mhm.
So I had all of the audio was unusable and we ADR'd the whole short. And I was like, like I shouldn't do that again. So
Yeah,
again, you learn all the ways not to make a
yeah, I
film.
mean, forgive my language, but that when you have to ADR and you realize your audio sucks, it's like a pain in the ass to just deal with on the editing process and just post-production in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's crazy to hear, especially knowing that, like you said, you did both of them, the documentary and this one, like uh post and during COVID time. Because that whole ordeal, well, which I mean, for me, I'm like, it's all merged together. Honestly, I'm still thinking like last year was 2018, and then it's 4 to 5, about to be 5 years old.
Yeah.
Um, but one of my other questions, which is lighthearted I try to add on little sprinkle trivial fun questions for whoever I have, if they seem like they're the type to answer those types, because I've had people that are very serious about the matter. But so in the press kit, we also get like little fun facts. And for the people that actually see it, you see it is the Viper Room that is on Sunset Boulevard, I believe, or Sunset Strip. So me, I am heavy into paranormal stuff. I know that place based off of like Ghost Adventures, BuzzFeed Unsolved, and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
For my own curiosity, I just wanted to ask you, did you or your crew experience any spooky stuff, especially being so close to Halloween, or was it just like any other set, just run and gun?
We did not at the Viper Room experience any spooky stuff, but you could
Mhm.
feel, particularly in the Scout, like uh, it had been closed all through COVID, which is even
Okay.
why we could shoot there, because we're like, a tiny little student production,
Hmm.
and they were just closed, not making any money. So they were like, yeah, sure, like,
Yeah.
you can have it these 2 days. And especially going in the Viper Room when like no one had been in there for months, like the
Hmm.
lights were off or like walking around with flashlights. You could feel like you don't want to stand in there alone. At the end of the night when we're wrapping, it's like,
Yeah.
I made my producers like come with me. I was like, I can't go in there
Yeah.
alone. But I actually don't think we had any paranormal things happen. We shot there 2 days.
Okay.
But what a cool place. Just
It really is.
so much history.
Yeah, I mean, it
With
was the go-to spot for like famous people back in the day, and now it's the
yeah.
go-to spot for investigators and people that just want to make YouTube videos around it. But that's cool to
Yeah.
hear. I didn't know you guys shot it in 2 days. That's cool.
Well, we shot, so there is no real backstage at the Viper Room. That's
Mhm.
all the backstage stuff was built on stage at USC, and then
Okay.
all of the real like stuff in the house, the theater, like on the stage exterior, like that's all really the Viper Room. So that
Oh,
that
okay,
was there
got
those
you.
2 days, and then the rest of the week we were on campus in a built fake dressing room.
Got you.
Um, yeah. The other fun fact that's fun about
Mhm.
the Viper Room, and part of why I was like, it's meant to be, like we have to shoot there. The
Yeah.
Pussycat Dolls got their start there. Like, oh, so
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
girl group really was born at the
Mhm.
Viper Room in the 90s. There's videos of them, like some of their first performances. And I was like, it's just meant to be.
It
So
just plays so well into the story. Yeah. I mean, you even
yeah.
had one of the actors, Peter, I believe, who is an actual producer from my understanding. So I mean,
Yes.
having that, not only the rich history with the Viper Room and like the whole 90s group, and having a producer that has developed stuff for people, that's quite the feat to have for
Yeah.
a single film. That's us all in one.
We
Um
were so lucky to find him. Luckily, he is not actually a predator in real life, but he is a real producer,
yeah,
just
yeah.
not a real predator. So,
Got you. I mean,
but
yeah, I would
yeah,
hope that
he's
would be quite the story behind the entire film.
yeah.
But I mean, for my last question, I believe that was all that I have for like the more rudimentary. You are from your backstory and from your little statement, director statement, you kind of found yourself to be telling these types of stories now, especially after things happen to you. And you've always had a love for creating and just being in the arts, you know. What would be one piece of advice that you would give someone that not only would be into filmmaking, but also kind of wants to tell stories about important matters, sexual assault, abuse, all those types of things? What would be a piece of advice that you would give them?
I think the piece of advice I'd give them, and this is so cliche, but there's only one you. I
Mhm.
hear all the time, like when we doubt ourselves, we're like, every story's already been told. Um, this has already been done. Uh, but the reality is, sure, it has, but no one's gonna tell it the way you're gonna tell it. Because
Mhm.
of course, like there are so many sexual assault stories out there, but I don't think there's a lot of like I can't talk, sexual assault stories like this out there.
Mhm.
And that's because of just like my own experiences
Of
and
course.
who I am as a filmmaker. And
Mhm.
so I think you can never, if you set out to make a film that like you think will be perfect for HBO, or you think will be perfect for Sundance, or if you think it's perfect for anyone, you actually have no idea who they are or what they want. And
Yeah.
it changes all the time because they're growing, organizations and people and whatever,
Mhm.
just like you are. And so all you can make is kind of the most authentic thing you possibly can for you. And accept whatever the result might be. You can only control what you control. And so I think instead of trying to fit a mold that you think someone wants,
Mhm.
just make it the most you possibly can. And um, then you can never fail yourself if you like really did what you wanted to do.
I agree. I have to agree because that's one of the major feats as a filmmaker that I had to fight, was accepting that at the end of the day, you're gonna have the best of your ability, what you were able to get, and also like festivals and all that stuff. The panels change, things happen. It's not always gonna be there, but so long as it's best for you, you got a story to tell. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, I mean, thank you so much for joining. That's all my questions. I did want to ask. I know the film is like still in its circuit, you know, because the Nashville Film Festival is barely starting today, or in a couple of days. Honestly, at least for press, it's starting today.
Mm.
Um, but would people be able to find it after, or are you still continuing it, or should they just follow the socials to keep up with it?
Absolutely. So it will be available eventually.
Mhm.
It's still festival circuit right now, and USC owns the copyright for this film, so
Okay,
it can't exist anywhere online,
got you.
without like a password protected thing. But
Mhm.
it's playing at the Imagine This Film Festival on the Lower East Side, New York, this Sunday, Regal Essex Crossing at 4:30 p.m. Then it's
Mhm.
playing Thursday the 29th at Nashville at the Belcourt Theater at 1 p.m. or 1 p.m. or 10 a.m. My calendar doesn't know where I am time zone wise. So in the
Gotcha.
morning. And then it's playing as well this Saturday at the Fine Arts Theater in Beverly Hills with Lady Filmmakers at 3 p.m. So those are three chances to see it kind of all over the place. And then, yeah, my social, you can find me at that Josie Andrews on Instagram. And if you're in neither of those cities, then DM me and I'll send you the link, people.
Get the screener accreditations
Yeah.
you so rightly deserve to share and stuff. That kind of sucks that you don't hold the copyright, but I mean it's part of the school process and just graduating. So
Yeah, it's honestly, we own the copyright to this story, so it's a blessing and a
mhm.
curse. We have an amazing festival and distribution office that takes care of so many things for us because they own a
Awesome.
copyright. So
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm chill.
Yeah, I mean that's been it. Follow Josie at her socials. Follow the film if you want to see it. Definitely go check it out at Nashville if you're going to Nashville, as well as the other festivals that Josie mentioned. I have nothing to add. Make sure to check out Nashville 53rd Film Festival. It's pretty dope. I don't think I technically have authorization to like promote it because I didn't get the official accreditation. My chief, or Raul, who you first talked to, did, which is weird because I got it last year. But who knows? I mean, I was still doing work for the business, for the company, and I'm still getting to talk to amazing people like yourself. So I'm not mad either. But
No, it's
yeah,
all good.
make sure to check out the film again. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next time. Peace.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank